Welcome to Xiao Voice. Continuing from the previous episode 218, the interior of the large hall had become much quieter because Xiao Ying's sudden request. Numerous gazes alternated between her and Xiao Yan. From the looks of it, it appeared that this witch from the Xiao clan had become itchy due to Xiao Yan having broken 2 of the records she had set. All the people with ill thoughts for the Yi clan involuntarily began to gloat when they saw what she wanted to do. Now that things had developed to this extent, they had already understood that the Yi clan had retained its position among the 5 great clans with Xiao Yan's help. Even if Xiao Ying were to intervene now, Xiao Yan would definitely be able to claim the second spot even if he could not take the first. Hence, the overall situation had already been determined. Of course, despite the overall situation having already been determined, being able to see Xiao Yan suffer a little in Xiao Ying's hands was also another kind of revenge. Hence, sounds of agreement appeared within the large hall after Xiao Ying had opened her mouth. Elder Cheng slightly frowned. His expression was also a little helpless. He knew that Xiao Ying's outer appearance might be smiling, but her heart was quite cold. The reason she would suddenly do something like this might indeed be partly because her hands were itchy, but an even larger part of it was to diminish Xiao Yan's grand aura. Elder Cheng mused for a moment before turning his eyes to Xiao Yan. He was not extremely against this matter. Xiao Yan's talent was indeed extremely great, but it was not a bad thing to grind away some of his spirit. The eyes of everyone in building gathered on Xiao Yan, awaiting his decision. Xiao Yan stared at Xiao Ying, who had curled her mouth into a slight smile. A moment later, he also slightly grinned as he said, "Since Miss Xiao Ying has already put it this way, I, Xiao Yan, would appear to be someone without bearing if I do not play with her." An alluring smile was revealed on Xiao Ying's exquisitely enchanting face when she heard Xiao Yan's words. She covered her mouth and laughed. Mr. Xiao Yan really has a way with words. Xiao Ying's hand gently tapped the table after she replies. Her body drifted over like a butterfly. After which, she gently landed in the arena. Her pretty eyes landed on Xiao Shu and softly said, "Big brother Xiao Shu, allow me to come and play." Xiao Shu helplessly shook his head. Xiao Ying's position within the Xiao clan was extremely high. Even the clan had to treat her words seriously. Moreover, Xiao Ying had been reaffirmed as the leader of the Xiao clan's group during this trip. They needed to treat any words she said as orders to be carried out. Hence, despite knowing Xiao Ying's actions contained a little willfulness, he could only slowly withdraw from the arena and head back to the seats of the Xiao clan. Elder Cheng did not say much after hearing Xiao Yan agree. He pointed at the red circle on the ground and said, "Since there are no questions, please enter the arena." Xiao Yan's 5-person group nodded upon hearing his words. After which, they entered in an orderly manner. They stayed a certain distance apart from one another because everyone understood that everyone was their opponent at this moment. They needed to ensure a safe distance. The 5 of them occupied 5 spots in the red circle. After which, all of them sat down with their legs crossed. They were using spiritual strength to fight, not Do Qi. At this level of theirs, their spiritual strength was already able to leave their bodies and launch attacks. Hence, they did not need to shift their bodies. Elder Cheng slowly stepped back when he saw that the 5 of them were prepared. He suddenly waved his hand and spoke in a deep voice, "Let the test begin." 5 waves of vast and mighty spiritual strength surged out of the bodies of the 5 competitors after Elder Cheng's cry sounded. After which, the spiritual strength lingered over the surface of their bodies. Their eyes were cautious as they looked around them. Their vast, mighty, invisible spiritual strengths covered the entire arena. The faint spiritual pressure caused some of the people within the large hall to feel suppressed. This kind of feeling originated from deep within one's soul and was completely unrelated to the might of one's Do Qi. The fight within the arena was a fight of a different domain. Cough. The stalemate in the arena continued for a while before it was finally broken by a sudden coughing sound that had originated from an unknown place. 5 vast, mighty spiritual strengths turned into 5 invisible, large pythons that surged from between their eyebrows with lightning-like speed. After which, they began to explode in the middle in an extremely chaotic manner. Bang! An invisible spiritual ripple spread out from the point of collision, and a wild wind was suddenly formed. It whistled within the large hall. The wild wind caused wave after wave of rustling sounds to form within the large hall. This powerful spiritual collision caused the 5 figures within the red circle to tremble. It was still alright for Xiaoyan and Xiao Ying. Their shoulders slightly shook before recovering to normal. On the other hand, Dan Zan's, Bai Ying's, and Chu Ji's bodies were forced back quite a distance by that force. Xiaoyan's eyes were locked intently on Xiao Ying, who was over 100 feet in front. He knew that she was the strongest opponent in this battle. During that soul collision earlier, the other party had clearly targeted him. It was fortunate that he was already prepared. Thus, he did not appear overly miserable during this first exchange. Dan Zan and the other two were all people who were implicated in their battle. Xiaoyan's and Xiao Ying's spiritual strength was far from what they could compare with. Dan Zan and the two others also sensed this kind of situation. Although they were a little unwilling to resign to it, it was still the truth. There was no other way to put it. The gap was there. No matter how they struggled and resisted, there would not be much of a change. This spiritual fight was completely a fight between Xiaoyan and Xiao Ying. The two of them were the true main characters. Bai Ying was present in a corner. His eyes were sinister as he looked at Xiaoyan. There was an unwillingness within his eyes. He was a dazzling person within the Bai clan. However, he had ended up as a supporting character to Xiaoyan today. How could he willingly accept this? He is indeed not simple. Xiao Ying's hand parted the black hair that had fallen in front of her forehead. The smile on her enchanting face became more bewitching. Her hands formed a seal before suddenly solidifying. Her vast, mighty spiritual strength swiftly gathered around her after her hand seal was formed. Within the blink of an eye, it transformed into a spiritual phoenix. The phoenix flapped both of its wings and space itself swiftly became distorted. There was even a faint, dark black spatial crack spreading from it. Although the spiritual phoenix was invisible, the pressure that spread from it caused the solemn eyes of quite a number of people in the large hall to pause on the empty space in front of Xiao Ying. Go! Xiao Ying's finger gently pressed against empty air. A clear phoenix cry suddenly resounded over the large hall. That spiritual phoenix flapped its wings as it carried a wild wind and rushed toward Xiaoyan. With the speed of the spiritual phoenix, it appeared in the air above Xiaoyan within an instant. When it was about to strike him, Xiaoyan suddenly opened his shut eyes. A cold cry erupted from his mouth. Break! An enormous, invisible hand suddenly formed when the word sounded. After which, it violently smashed into the head of the spiritual phoenix. Bang! The wind crossed each other and carried a wave of a wild and fierce spiritual storm. The hard ground was cracked apart, forming numerous arm-sized lines. The spiritual storm arrived quickly and disappeared quickly. Xiaoyan's body, which was seated on the ground, was forcefully pushed back by that terrifying force for a distance of 3 steps. On the other hand, Xiao Ying borrowed the advantage the attacker and merely moved back a distance of 2 steps. Even though this was the case, it still caused quite a number of people present to be greatly shocked. They did not expect Xiaoyan to possess the qualification to collide with this witch without falling to a disadvantage. The storm not only caused Xiaoyan and Xiao Ying to move back. Dan Zan and the other 2 competitors were pushed back a couple of meters once again. Immediately, they let out bitter laughs. Dan Zan and Chu Ji stood up, cupped their hands to Elder Cheng before leaving the area of the red circle. In the face of such a situation, they would merely be playing a supportive role if they continued to stay. Bai Ying tightly clenched his teeth after the 2 people gave up. He looked at Xiaoyan, who was only focusing on Xiao Ying. A dark, vicious expression flashed across his eyes. His hand seal suddenly changed. Spiritual strength erupted from his body without being held back. After which, it transformed into an invisible, large python. It carried a sharp, fierce aura as it rushed toward Xiaoyan. You don't know your limits. Xiaoyan knit his brows after sensing Bai Ying's sudden attack. His eyes immediately became icy cold as it was turned toward Bai Ying. He waved his sleeve and an incomparably vast, mighty spiritual pillar shot out and collided with the python. Bang! When the 2 collided, the seemingly fierce and vicious spiritual python immediately crumbled. Bai Ying's face quickly paled and a mouthful of fresh blood was involuntarily spat out. His body was just like a kite with its string broken as he flew out. Finally, he violently smashed into the ground. Numerous exclamations sounded within the large hall after everyone saw Xiaoyan randomly defeat Bai Ying until he was left in a miserable state. The people from the Bai clan faced each other. Their moods immediately became dispirited. They no longer felt the pride that they had displayed earlier. The most outstanding person from their clan could only occupy the lowest supporting role. Xiao Yan did not even blink his eyes after randomly defeating Bai Ying. His eyes refocused on Cao Ying, who displayed an enchanting smile. Her smile contained a kind of dangerous feeling similar to that of being targeted by a poisonous snake. You are indeed very strong and did not do your best during those tests earlier. Cao Ying slowly spread her long arms. Her gentle snake-like body caused quite a number of men to feel the impulse of thinking other thoughts. Xiao Yan's expression did not change in the face of Cao Ying's laughter. He knew that this lady in front of him might be beautiful, but she was a beautiful snake that would eat people alive. If he had a lapse of judgment while he fought with her, it would light the fuse of one's defeat. There are currently only the two of us. Let's not delay things any longer. As long as you can receive 3 of my spiritual handprints, I will withdraw from the match. Of course, even if you withdraw now, you can still preserve your second position. The Yi clan can still be saved. Therefore, are you going to receive my attacks or are you going to leave? Cao Ying sweetly smiled. Her hands were spread in front of her. She appeared perfect, just like a masterpiece. Her beauty caused many hearts to throb.